All right, welcome back. In our last explainer, we soared into the clouds with Plato's ideal forms. Today, we're coming back down to earth with his most brilliant student, Aristotle. If Plato was the idealist, Aristotle was the ultimate realist, the pragmatist. He looked at the world as it was and tried to figure out how to make it better. So let's dive into his incredibly practical and honestly revolutionary ideas about politics and leadership. So, how are we going to tackle this? First, we'll get into his absolute core belief that politics is really just a part of ethics. From there, we'll explore the state's main purpose through this amazing concept called the golden mean. Then, we'll break down his classification of governments, the good and the bad. We'll see which one he thought was the best we could actually achieve, and finally, we'll look at what it takes to be a truly virtuous leader.
Okay, first things first. For Aristotle, this is the absolute foundation of everything. You simply cannot understand his political philosophy unless you get this one thing. For him, politics and ethics are not two separate subjects. Politics is just ethics on a grander scale. It's the application of morality to the entire community.
Now, this might sound a little strange to us today, right? We often try to keep government out of personal morality. But for Aristotle, no way. They were completely inseparable. The entire reason for a state to even exist, its whole purpose, is to help people become good. The state is an active moral project.
So why is the state so essential for this moral project? Well, it all comes down to one of Aristotle's most famous lines, that man is a social animal, or more accurately, a political animal. We aren't meant to be lone wolves. We can only reach our full human potential, our true moral character, by living and participating in a community, in a state, with shared laws and values.
All right, so we've established the what. The state's job is to make us virtuous. But the big question is how. How does a government actually do that? For Aristotle, the answer lies in this absolutely central ethical idea that guides everything he thinks, the golden mean.
So what is this golden mean? You can think of it as the sweet spot. The idea is that true virtue is never found in the extremes. It's always the perfect, balanced midpoint between two vices, one where you have too little of something and one where you have way too much. It's all about moderation and reason. And this doesn't just apply to you and me, it applies to the state itself. Let's make this super concrete with an example everyone gets: courage. At one end of the spectrum, you have cowardice. That's a deficiency, a lack of nerve. At the complete other end, you have recklessness. That's an excess, just blindly rushing into danger. The virtue, courage, is that perfect middle path. It's not about having no fear, it's about facing fear with the right amount of reason. And this brings us to a really key point. For Aristotle, you could have a monarchy, you could have an aristocracy, whatever. The label of the government doesn't matter nearly as much as its result. The ultimate test for any government is simply, is it helping its people find that golden mean? Is it building virtuous citizens through good laws and education? That, and only that, is the true measure of a good state.
Okay, building on that, Aristotle did this incredible analysis of all the different governments he saw around him. And as a great classifier, he realized you could sort them all into two major categories, based on one super simple question. Who are the rulers ruling for? Is it for the good of everyone, or just for themselves?
And here it is, laid out perfectly. It's brilliant, really. On the left, you've got the correct forms, where the rulers govern for the common good. You have kingship, ruled by one, aristocracy, ruled by the best few, and politia, ruled by the many. But, and this is the crucial part, every single one of these can go bad. It can decay into its corrupt, deviant form on the right when the rulers get selfish. Kingship turns into tyranny, aristocracy rots into oligarchy, and politia decays into what he calls democracy.
So when these systems go wrong, which one is the least bad? Well, Aristotle actually ranked them. Tyranny, absolutely the worst, no question. Oligarchy, rule by the selfish rich, was second worst. But then you get to democracy, and what he thought here is really interesting. He saw it as the most tolerable of the bad forms, mostly because he believed it had the best chance of being reformed back into something good.
All right, so we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. The big question is, which one did Aristotle land on as the best? And his answer is so Aristotle. It's not some pie-in-the-sky ideal he's searching for. He's looking for the best possible system for real societies, with real, imperfect people.
He kind of walks us through the options. In a perfect world, sure, a kingdom run by one perfectly virtuous person. A philosopher king would be amazing. But let's be real, he says. What are the odds of finding that person? Pretty much zero.
Okay, what about rule by a small group of virtuous people? An aristocracy? Better, but still really unlikely to last. So he lands on a third option, not as the absolute perfect ideal, but as the best practical regime, politeia. So, what exactly is this politeia? Think of it as a mixed constitution. It's a clever blend. It takes some of the best parts of oligarchy, like giving influence to the educated and wealthy, and it mixes them with the best parts of democracy, like recognizing the rights of all free citizens. And what's the secret ingredient that makes it all work? A large, stable, and empowered middle class. They're the anchor that keeps society from being torn apart by the conflict between the super rich and the super poor.
Okay, so we have this system, politeia. But a system is only as good as the people running it. So what makes a good leader in Aristotle's eyes? Well, forget about charisma or being a great speaker. For him, it's about something much more solid, concrete principles, and, you guessed it, virtue. He boils it down to 3 things that are totally non-negotiable for anyone in power. Number 1, you have to be completely loyal to the Constitution. No exceptions. Number 2, you have to actually be good at your job. Capable of doing the work. And number 3, you must have the specific kind of virtue and commitment to justice that fits the regime you're leading.
Now here's another one of those ideas that might feel a little jarring to us today. When we talk about the goals of a government, we often put freedom and equality right at the top. For Aristotle, those weren't the main goal. The highest aim of the state is to cultivate virtue. And because of that, political power shouldn't be given out equally to everyone. It should be given to those with the most merit, the people who are most capable of leading the state towards that virtuous end.
And then, sitting at the very peak of all these virtues is justice. For Aristotle, justice isn't just about courts and laws. It's the very fabric of the state. It's the moral gravity that holds the entire community together, ensuring everything is in its right place. It is, as he says, the most political virtue of them all.
So, if you're a leader, and your goal is to build this just, virtuous state, what's your number 1 job? What's the most important thing you can possibly do? For Aristotle, the answer was crystal clear: education. And not just any education. He argued it was way too important to be left up to parents. It had to be a public system, run by the state, and available to all citizens. The goal? To teach people both how to rule wisely and, just as importantly, how to be ruled justly. A good public education system was the best defense for a good constitution.
You see how it all connects? Whether we're talking about the golden mean, the best constitution, or the job of a leader, it all circles back to this one powerful, unbreakable link. You cannot separate politics from ethics. A state that isn't actively trying to make its citizens good people has, in his view, completely failed at its most basic job. And that leaves us with a big question to chew on. In our modern world, which is so often focused on things like economic growth, individual freedom, and equality, what do we do with a model of leadership that puts virtue and merit above all else? Is it an outdated idea? Or is it something we've forgotten? Something we might desperately need to rediscover? Definitely something worth thinking about.